All right, so we're discussing the land of Pakistan, geography. In the lecture, we didn't have a class yesterday. Our class was on Tuesday. Yeah, in Tuesday's class, we were discussing the Balochistan plateau. We were done with both of these plateaus, the Potawatomi plateau, the Balochistan plateau. Now we are going to be discussing some topographical features of um, the Indus Plains, the Indus Delta, the Indus Plains, um, and how we'll see how these areas, the Indus Plains, are so suitable for the agriculture. Doabs is one of the, it's also an important region. Doabs is, so this word Doabs, this indicates that any place, any region that's between two rivers. Abs Ab is basically river in Urdu, and Do is two. So any land, any piece of land between two rivers is known as Doab. So, for example, if you look at River Jhelum, River Sindh, all the cities, all the villages, all these towns between these two rivers, Jhelum and Sindh, are basically located on this Doab, which is known as Sindh Sagar Doab. This is an example. You should know about this. And this Doab isn't just a very small piece of land. There could be entire cities on that area. There could be entire towns, villages. Okay. So any part of land between two rivers is Doab. Sindh Sagar Doab is an example. Then Chaj Doab is also another example between River Chenab and Jhelum. So if we recall the rivers of Pakistan, there are total of main 5 rivers flowing throughout the country: Indus, Chenab, Ravi, Satluj, and Jhelum. So all of the areas between these rivers will be known as Doabs. Then there's another Doab known as Rachna Doab, which is between Ravi and Chenab. If you focus on these names, they're all basically derived from the names of the rivers. Chaj is basically derived from River Chenab and Jhelum. Rachna is derived from this Chenab and Ravi. Bari Doab from Satluj and Ravi. So yeah, so these are 4 examples of Doabs. You don't exactly need to memorize these names. Just need to, I think, even if you just know about 1 to 2 of these, I think that's enough for you. Importance of Doabs now. So we established the fact that Doabs are between the two rivers. So obviously there is abundant, there's I mean, there's no shortage of water, and because of this availability of water, this area is very well suited for agricultural activities. Urban settlements can be done without hassle. There are links to air, rail, and road developed. So yeah, these areas in Pakistan, they're very well developed. So they're very well connected. They have this accessibility through road, through rail, through air transport. So people, they can, I mean, they prefer getting settled on these areas. So urban settlements are also common. Jhelum is a very well developed city of Pakistan. Um, Similarly, factories and industrial states established. Why are most of the factories and industrial states established between the two rivers or on a Doab? Because there is abundant supply of water, and water is used in the industrial processes as well. So a good supply of water will definitely benefit the industries. Moreover, businesses, markets, and storage of raw material of agriculture are provided. Exactly, water is also used as a raw material, for example, for the pharmaceutical industries, for textile industries, for you could say um, drugs, for medicines, for yeah, paper industry, paints, and all of these. So this is why water, because it is a raw material, as well as um, I mean, it is also, other than raw materials, water is also used in the industrial processes, for example, for cooling down of the furnaces, for cleaning, for washing, for different purposes. So this is why water is very important for industries as well as agriculture. And these industrial states, these agricultural lands are mostly established on doabs. Topographical features of the Indus Plains. Indus Plains are all the areas surrounding River Indus. River Indus is the main major river in Pakistan. Let me annotate this here for you. So for example, let's draw this map of Pakistan here, assuming that this is, let's say, Pakistan. So River Indus flows throughout the country from the northern mountains to, here's, let's say, the Arabian Sea. So River Indus flows from the north of the country to the Arabian Sea. All right. And all these areas alongside River Indus are known as the Indus Plains. And these plains are basically divided into two major segments of land. Number one, the Upper Indus Plain, and number two, the Lower Indus Plain. Okay, I'm going to cross it off now. So Indus Plains, they have these areas known as active floodplains and old floodplains. Active floodplains, active floodplains are all the areas alongside the river. Because the river flows throughout the year, there's a greater chance of those plains getting flooded. So all those plainer areas alongside rivers that frequently get flooded, those areas are known as active floodplains. They're flooded almost every year. With this, okay, when the season of rain concludes, alluvium can be found in its dry and graded channels. Alluvium is a type of soil. It is full of nutrients, and of course, when water is present in a specific, let's say, in the soil, that soil is known as the alluvial soil, a very you could say a soil full of nutrients, and it's good for the agricultural activities. So active floodplains, but settlements are not really common because of the flooding. People avoid getting settled alongside floodplains. Yes, people who practice nomadic lifestyle, for example, farmers, cattle farmers, who practice this transhumance and nomadic lifestyle, and they travel from the northern mountains to the southern areas in winters and then back to the northern mountains in summers, they get settled alongside the active floodplains because their settlements aren't for the permanent. They don't get settled for permanently over there. So for temporary basis, yes, active floodplains are used for settlements, but urban settlements and even rural settlements, but rural and urban permanent settlements are not, you won't see such settlements alongside the active floodplains. Old floodplains are areas a little far away from the river that aren't usually flooded. They used to be once the active floodplains, but because of the change in topographies and landscapes, the river might, I mean, there's a chance, because the rivers, they do keep changing their courses. So when a river changes its course, once an active floodplain might turn into an old floodplain. So this is the area between the alluvial terraces, alluvial plains, and the active floodplains. So again, it is only flooded when the rainfall exceeds the maximum amount per year, or maybe yeah. So oxbow lakes and meanders are found in these plains. Water meanders, let me just annotate again. So meanders are all those rivers that flow in a curved path. So let's say this is a river and this is the direction of the flow of water. This curved path of this river is known as a meander. So meanders, for example, when the water changes its course, what happens is that a meander gets cut off from the 2 points, and what happens is, let's say this river course, the new river course is like this, the orange one. So this part, this specific part here, would just remain as a tiny lake. This is known as an oxbow lake. So oxbow lakes are formed when a meandering river changes its course over time. So this leftover part of that river is known as an oxbow lake. So these oxbow lakes and meanders are basically common on the old floodplains. And if you want to know about these active and old floodplains, for example, this is a river. This immediate part is an active floodplain. And here are the alluvial terraces. Let me just change the color. So all of these blue areas are the alluvial terraces. These orange areas are the active floodplains. This one in the center, this purple one, is the river. And these red areas are the old floodplains. Ahmed, are you getting this? Ahmed, are you there? Okay, all right. So yeah, we've studied alluvial terraces, plains, old and active floodplains. Okay, Piedmont plains. So now this is another type of topographical feature. Piedmont plains, they're formed in the rainy season when streams and rivers deposit alluvium at the foot of the mountain. Okay, they support agriculture too. They are known as the Rajas. This is what Piedmont plains are called in local language. These rivers deposits these rivers deposit alluvium, sand, and gravel. These can be found at Himalayan mountain, Krithar, and Salamanco ranges. Okay, so what happens is the streams of rivers, when they flow all across the northern mountains, they carry these deposits, these sand particles, stones, and all of the eroded materials. And when these, and obviously the alluvium soil as well. Alluvium soil is the best kind of the soil that's best for the agricultural practices. So when alluvium soil is deposited at the foot of a mountain, that is known as a Piedmont plain. For example, if you look at this picture here, I'm going to draw it out for you. Just a second. Okay. Here's a mountain range. Okay. What happens here is that the river that flows through this mountain, it carries this alluvium, all the eroded materials. Okay. So we can say alluvium in the river, in the stream, sorry. And that stream deposits all the alluvium at the foothill. Uh, Image, you got disconnected. All right, all right. So I was talking about how alluvium is deposited on the foothills. This is a mountain range. This is how the stream carries the alluvium soil down to the foothill, and this is where a Piedmont plain is formed. Why? Because this is where all the materials are deposited. All right, tidal delta. Tidal delta is a triangular shaped area, and what happens is where all the distributaries or the rivers, they get deposited in form of major, you could say, major river, or even in some cases the Arabian Sea. So distributaries, where they meet at this common point, it's known as a tidal delta, and they even branch out from it after depositing everything here. So because it's the place where the rivers meet and they then spread out again, that place particularly will have the most flow of water. Mangrove swamps are very common. Mangroves is a type of vegetation, a type of forest that's grown especially on the deltas in water, and it's the best breeding ground for fish. I mean, it's best grown in water. Why? Because the roots, they filter out the salt in the seawater, and they're mostly found on these coastal areas of Pakistan, including these deltas alongside the Arabian Sea. So, because this land is exposed to seawater, there is limited agriculture, only mangroves are grown, commercial activities are lesser here because of the poor infrastructure, roads aren't properly developed, transport is, I mean, transportation of raw materials, transportation of people, transportation of industrial products is difficult because of the underdeveloped infrastructure. There are tropical cyclones. Why? Because again, it's a coastal area, and these tropical cyclones, they damage houses, the agricultures, the fishing industries, and the population density is also low. Why? Because of all of these factors, the weather conditions, the flooding, heavy rainfalls, and everything. Rolling sand plains, it's another type of a topographical feature. They're found in desert areas, basically. So rolling sand plains are formed because of the sand dunes. You must have heard about sand dunes, or all of these curvy patterns that are formed on the surface of a desert. So what happens is when these sand dunes, the sand is blown off because of the heavy winds, rolling sand plains are formed. Cuestas are found in the lower Indus plains. They are basically ridges made up of limestone, and these ridges are used for construction of barrages and irrigation. We're going to talk about these barrages and irrigation in detail afterwards. But now just know what cuestas are. The final topographical feature or the type of land is desert areas. Deserts of Pakistan. There are a total of 3 major deserts in Pakistan. There's number one, Thal Desert, Thar, and Kharan Desert. The Thal Desert is located between River Indus and Jhelum, and it is obviously in Sindh. Then the southeastern part of Pakistan has this Thar Desert, Thar Parker. It's also known as Thar Parker, and Kharan Desert is in Balochistan. You need to know these exact locations as well. So features of deserts: the water scarcity, number one, because of low rainfall, fast blowing winds, sand dunes, rolling sand plains, lack of vegetation. Yeah. So this is where we're done with the first topic, the land of Pakistan. What we need to do now is I will be writing down a question. This is a class assignment, by the way. So I'll be writing down a question for you to attempt as a class assignment. Just a second. Describe the features of active floodplains, old floodplains, alluvial terraces, Piedmont plains, and Cuestas. Question number 2 is describe the lifestyle of people living in the desert areas. So we've talked about the desert areas, the climate, the topographical features, and everything. So now you need to write about the lifestyle of people, their adaptability in summers and winters, food sources, commercial activities, and everything. This is a 5-mark question, and all of these features will be described in 2 marks each.
So, could you send these questions in the WhatsApp group?
Yes, I can. I'll take a screenshot of this, okay?
Okay, then you'll send it, yeah?
Yeah, I'll send it there as well.
Okay. So then what time do I have until to do it?
Because it's a class assignment, so I think you should submit it within, I think you should stay in class here, okay? And you can do it by 7:45.
7:45.
20 minutes?
How about later?
Okay.
Would I be able to do all of this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think so.
All
I
right.
need more time.
Okay, when can you submit it then?
Maybe